Mendoza. Giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great
Rounded up the middle is Mendoza, throws out the shortstop. Mendoza field spins, throws.
Mendoza throw to first in time. Wow, what a play by Evan Mendoza.
Short. Mendoza to second for one. Oh my word, you've got to be kidding.
Evan Mendoza.
For Mendoza lifts one to left. An inning.
Mendoza, that one's sailing back there, and it's gone.
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level, not just posting about it. Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word: Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity, and your outreaching strategies. Because there's a ton of players I know that are way better than me that had zero offers because they don't know how to reach out to coaches.
Pretty much every possible number when I've gone up. I was high 70s and now I'm aiming for mid to high 80s and hitting the same thing. I was high 80s off machine and now I'm able to put some balls out in the mid 90s.
JT's motivation to want to do it at home, be proactive in his baseball career, and we are able to do these things for him, and it's self-motivated and he's taken that action. As a parent, you want to be able to say yes to something like that.
It's been making me feel much more confident. Like now going into the season, I feel I have all the ability I need and I can just play and trust that all the work I did will pay off.
Started working out, I was about 120, 115, about 160 now. I trusted it and it worked. If you want to go get it, it's not going to come to you.
My EV was about 75 and my body weight was around 155, around that. Since I joined that, I'm up to almost 180 now and I'm hitting 80s, around mid 80s.
How much more kind of committed he was and how much more confident he became in his own progress, instead of questioning himself about, am I doing the right thing or is this the right thing? So you could kind of see the stress level decrease a little bit, and then that energy could be focused on really all of the program aspects, right? Or his workouts.
Do that. If you could get on and do what you said day in, day out, it's amazing. Like a game changer.
Through your program, I just realized how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement over the course of 4 or 5 months, like you said. I could feel the improvement myself. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
You can give him guidance and he can always ask questions to you. I could see how he became more confident after talking to you every time. You are always there when he needs. I think it's really important to know or be told from someone professional like you.
It was a completely new experience for us. I think we were skeptical. We dove into some of the content. We realized how good it was and the quality of it. The way that you kind of worked with him and you set expectations for him, like, hey, these are the things I'm expecting from you, and that was a big part of why we enjoyed the program as well.
The program has made me like a little eagerness to go out and do something and not just wait for the team practice and do things on my own.
As his dad, I can tell him till I'm blue in the face that this needs to be done. And sometimes it doesn't resonate coming from the dad. Sometimes it needs to come from a pro ball player.
Through your program, I just realized how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement over the course of 4 or 5 months, like you said. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
I definitely recommend joining it. It's awesome. The community's great. Having you there to support you is incredible, and overall love the program.
You get the full structure. You get your lifting, you get your arm velocity, you get your mechanics, you get your hitting, and the hands-on approach from you.
Infield velo was 68 or something like that. It was not good. My 60-yard dash was 7.7, which is not good. And I was not very mobile. I wasn't very strong. I mean, I'm a big kid, but a lot of it was just from my size. My infield velo now is 80, and my 60-yard dash is 70.
It's insane. What was the root cause for all that?
I mean, it was just staying consistent with the program. I think just I had to really stay on, focus on the path that I was trying to get. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to become elite. I was trying to get better. I know the stats at the time. I was like, oh yeah, that's not that bad. But going back and looking, that's not kind of where I should be to play at the next level. Staying consistent with the program really helped me through that time.
I feel like now I'm really dialed into what I'm doing. So when I do it, it's just like this before, like you talked about earlier, it's just coming in naturally.
That felt good. I mean, it gave me my confidence shot up. I think you should join in. You do a really good job of replying back to messages, and you're really fast to help out other people with coaching and their swings. You're a pretty good coach.
Hitting the group.
Improved, velocity went up, speed went up, everything in general went up. Before joining, I tracked my 60 time and I was running a 8.22, and then after a while, I did a showcase, and then I ran a 7.08.
What do you think leading cause for that? That's crazy jump.
Probably mobility and probably the exercises that you have in your academy that allow for growth in those little tiny muscles that people forget about.
I could tell I was hitting the ball a little bit harder, and then it got better and better and better, and then my speed picked up with the sprinting training and all that, and I was just getting a lot better. But before that, it was not super good. I've definitely picked up on my hitting velo. Before I joined the program, my velo was 72 off the bat, and at this showcase, I hit 80.
That's insane, dude.
No, so when I first saw your program, you were talking about how to get to college and how to get D1 and get recruited and all this, and that had me super interested because, you know, I'm trying to go D1 and everything, try to get a scholarship and all this, and your program definitely talks about it and helps you walk through it and get you started. Honestly, I would say, like, the program definitely helped me a lot. You know, helped me work through some things, get my visualization for games and all that, just get me prepared.
Obviously, like, my program's remote. Like, have you had any trouble by doing the work that I provide you?
Not at all. It's right in front of you. You know, so it's super easy to get. Search it up, find it, and start working.
Welcome Evan Mendoza to the program.
Cardinals third baseman Evan Mendoza. Giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great rounded up the middle. Mendoza throws out the shortstop. Mendoza field spins.
Mendoza throw to first in time. Wow, what a play by Evan Mendoza.
Mendoza to second for one. Oh my word, you've got to be kidding. Evan Mendoza. For Mendoza
Lifts one to left. An inning.
Mendoza, that one's sailing back there, and it's gone.
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level, not just posting about it. Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word. Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity, and your outreaching strategies. Because there's a ton of players I know that are way better than me that had zero offers because they don't know how to reach out to coaches.
Pretty much every possible number would have gone up. I was high 70s and now I'm aiming for mid to high 80s and hitting the same thing. I was high 80s off machine and now I'm able to put some balls out in the mid 90s.
JT's motivation to want to do it at home, you know, be proactive in his baseball career, and we are able to do these things for him, and it's self-motivated and he's taken that action. As a parent, you want to be able to say yes to something like that.
It's been making me feel much more confident. Like now going into the season, I feel I have all the ability I need and I can just play and trust that all the work I did will pay off.
Started working out, I was about one.
All right, welcome in. Hope everyone's having a great day today. We are just now going live on Instagram. Guys, hope everyone's having a great day today. And hopefully you guys like the new setup. And as you guys know, the very first thing that I love to do is first off, introduce myself. My name is Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres. And the very first thing that I love to do, as you guys know, is move this guy over to the next number. We're at 27 straight days of streaming. Hopefully this isn't your first time, but if it is, let me know. Just put like a baseball emoji down below in the chat. Today's day number 27. Did I do that right? Is today day 27? Today's 27. I got to move that over on YouTube as well. But yeah, guys, what are you guys' thoughts on the new layout? Do you guys like it? I want to make sure that I'm staying fresh and updated for you all. But yeah, guys, if this is your first ever Coffee and Baseball that you're joining into, go ahead and drop the baseball emoji down below in the chat just so I know who I'm speaking to, and then that way we can get this show on the road. But we are live over on Facebook, we are live over on YouTube, and we are live over on Instagram. Welcome in. I also want to take a screenshot of what, maybe just if you could as well, take a screenshot of what the Instagram Live looks like on your end, because I want that logo in the bottom right to like fit perfectly where there's no comments, but I don't know if that works or not. So let me see. Yeah, I like it. I think that logo fits perfectly. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys like the setup, or is there too much going on with the logo? Can you even see the logo? Should the logo be somewhere else? Either way, this is stuff that I like to obsess over, even though it's the tiny little details. But let's get started, guys, because today we are going to be talking about basically any baseball-related questions that you guys have. And I want to make sure that I come to you guys with as much free value as humanly possible. So before we do that, I'm going to also make sure that I turn on all my chats, so that way everything lives kind of in the same spot. That's the way to make it easy for me. So that way I don't have to look at 17 million different other screens, and we should be good to go right now. So, all right, my son throws 82 to 84. As a junior, so 2027 right-handed pitcher, but doesn't have great breaking stuff yet. Is that even recruitable? So, like, yes, there's going to be a projectability as far as certain players having the ability to start developing certain pitches and newer pitches, right? And these are all things that, you know, it is important to realize. So as a junior throwing 82 to 84, nothing terrible. That's not terrible, right? I always like to say, like, if you can get to like the 87-ish range, your upper eights, that's going to be where college coaches say, like, okay, we get him on campus, we make sure that he's developing the right way in the gym, he's on a throwing program, he's doing all the right things for his arm, we can get him up to that 90, right? Some D1 programs need to see the pitchability, though, and the pitchability comes with having accuracy, really accuracy, in not only just your fastball, but really in your secondary, right? And your secondary could be a changeup, it could be a slider, it could be a curveball, could be a splitter, right? Could be a two-seamer. So, like, for me, I overcomplicated it. Honestly, I really do think I overcomplicated pitches, because my pitching, my arsenal, I should say, was really my two-seam. Was pretty dominant because it had that arm side run. I also had a four seam, and for whatever reason, I threw my four seam because I thought that was going to be better for velocity. And yes, it is more, you can get maybe 1 mile an hour faster when you throw it on a straight line with more backspin rather than with side spin where it's going to be tailing off, right? Also, happy opening day for the NCAA at the Division I level. There's going to be NC State is opening up in Puerto Rico against Washington, which is crazy. Think about the cross country flight for Washington to go down to Puerto Rico. But either way, I had my two seam, which was really good. I could spot it up. My four seam was good. I usually use that for like an elevated fastball. Typically, my secondary real pitch, because these are all primaries. My real true secondary was my changeup. After that, the kid 1324, good morning. Happy coffee and baseball. Hopefully you brought your coffee. I brought my Cuban coffee. We're still sipping on it. This is my second one this morning. So, and then I also had like a slider and then curveball. Honestly, like my slider was more of like a side to side sweeper. That's what they refer to it in pro ball. My changeup was disgusting because I was really good at pronating. But either way, I overcomplicated it. I really should have just thrown my two seam, my changeup, and my slider. So these were like basically the areas that gave me the best success, right? This was a distractor of my success. So I really should have eliminated that. My curveball was really a distractor of the success that I had. I pitched to weak contact typically, and that's what I mean by they're distractors. And in professional baseball, it was actually really insightful hearing about how the pitchers went about certain conversations with their pitching coaches, the pitching coordinators, also their frustrations because pitchers would get frustrated that they don't get the resources to develop more pitches. So think about like this. If you have pitch 1, pitch 2, pitch 3, pitch 4, and pitch 5, right? Not many big leaguers have like 5 pitches, by the way. You're typically like that 87 to 91 type of pitcher as far as velocity goes. Anna over on Facebook, welcome in, first timer, let's go. I'm not usually checking in on my Facebook chat, so I appreciate you for joining in for the very first time, but we got a little bit of a different setup today. So like previously it didn't look as fancy, it didn't look as nice, but I'm actually really enjoying the setup. And the reason that I keep trying to improve the setup for you guys is because you guys have loved this so far, and the biggest thing that I really have to ask you, and Anna, if this is your first time, that's awesome. I appreciate you for joining in, but really the only way that this grows is if you tell someone else about it. If you tell a player about it, if you tell a coach about it, if you tell another parent about this live, where you can stop in, ask a question, and then of course get your clarity on what you got going on, whether it's for your son or for yourself, and get a little bit more actionable advice on what is going on. Also, the reason that I love doing these lives, and I'm really talking to you since this is your first time, the reason I love doing these lives is because, like, I could try condensing my 7 years of professional baseball experience into a 2-second reel, but why would I ever try to do that in all reality? Like, I have way too much expertise, in my opinion, to try just competing with all these brain-rotted, doom-scrolling videos that don't really teach you anything in particular. So that's why I'm here with you, answering your questions in a little bit more thorough and less vanilla way. But anyway, let's talk about pitchers, right? Because I think this will help you guys out with a better understanding. I'm gonna go ahead and record this as well because I think this is important. All right, high school pitchers. Guys, if you have way too many pitches, right? If you have 5 different pitches in your arsenal, you are lacking the success that you deserve, right? So think about like your primary pitches, right? For example, your fastball is going to be typically your primary pitch. That could be a 2-seamer, that could be a 4-seamer, that could be a high spin fastball, that could be more of an arm side run sinker, right? Either way, your secondary, it could be like a slider, it could be a changeup. Your changeup could be down here. You could also have a curveball, and then you could have like a splitter, right? Ideally, you're distracting yourself from all this success. And this is exactly what I learned when I played professional baseball, from having conversations with the pitchers, the pitching coaches, and how pitching coordinators would instruct the pitchers to really focus on what gives them the most success. So for example, if the opponent, let's just go about opponent OPS, right? So I'm just writing OPS, but this is opponent OPS if you're a pitcher. Let's say the opponent OPS on a fastball, let's say a pro guy is throwing 97 miles an hour. The opponent OPS is like 600. Cool, we want to keep that in our arsenal. Now over here on the flip side, if the opponent OPS is 1100, we ideally want to look at that data and scrap that because it's not producing the success that we need, right? So if you're a pitcher, like when I was a pitcher in college and in high school, what you really want to do is minimize all the pitches that you have and really cut away the fat to only the pitches that you feel comfortable with and what your primary pitches were. For example, for me, like honestly, I would have to reverse these because my changeup was honestly disgusting in high school, and my slider was more of my 3rd pitch. Ideally, if I just kept with like these 3, because I also had a curveball, I also had like a 4-seamer fastball that I used to elevate in the zone with 2 strikes. But ideally, if I just kept with my bread and butter, this is where I would have found more success, even more success as a high school pitcher. And I say that because my senior year of high school, I did have like a 0.4 ERA, which is ridiculous. I threw almost two no-hitters in a row. The first no-hitter, the last batter, I gave up a hit. And then the next outing that I had a no-hitter. So basically, in I think 14 combined innings, I gave up 1 hit, which was pretty cool. But to close the yearbook, guys, and to give you guys as much information as possible, we really want to trim the fat as far as the distractors from our potential success. So hopefully that gives you guys some clarity on that. That is something that I'm pretty passionate about, is making sure that we go away from the things that are distracting us in pitching, because there's so much out there that we can think about, like developing a new pitch. We could do this, we could do that. And that's when things get pretty confusing, I would say. And I don't want you to feel confused when you're out there on the mound. That's when you're typically going to feel like very isolated and alone. And I don't want you to do that. Let me see. We got a little update thing that I got to do real quick. All right. Cool, guys. Also, we got another question in here. Let me actually just send this real quick. Let me send over my live so that way other viewers can watch. How do I share live when I'm already live? There we go. All right. Cool. All right, next question. By the way, guys, ask your questions. That's something that I'm very passionate about. When you guys join in here, just make sure that you're asking questions that are relevant to you or your son's situation. It could be about travel ball. It could be about high school. It could be about coaches. I'm going to probably side with the coaches because they have a very difficult time dealing with parents more times than not. But let's get into another question. So my son's 5'7". By the way, we're live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. 145. As a sophomore, so that's a 28. Our coach is already writing him off because of his size. Like, no, in my opinion, like that's actually the best gauge for where your son's currently at is his weight. What's the biggest difference from college coaches? What are they looking for, Sam? I mean, the metrics are good, but how you translate those metrics into the game matter a lot more than just like one thing over another. But anyway, so if your son's 5'7", like I'm curious also what position he plays. If he's more of like a second baseman, right? That like 5'7" is something crazy. I had teammates in pro ball that were literally 5'7", 5'9", somewhere in that range, and they were around like 165 pounds, right? So you have to think about if your son's only a sophomore and he's almost at that weight, keep it up, right? Because like for most 5'7" sophomores, if your son's 5'7", they might be weighing like 110. Your son, on the other hand, is 145 as a sophomore, even though he's 5'7". So don't view it at that through that lens as far as he's being written off because he's 5'7". But because he's 145, this is how, if he knows how to move, that's what college coaches are ultimately going to be looking for. It's not necessarily on the sides. It's like, okay, well, can he field? Is he a really solid defender? I got to play with Tommy Edman. For a lot of people that know, he's with the Dodgers now, and he's making a great name for himself because, and this was when I was with the Cardinals, but Tommy Edman, like he's like 5'10", like he's not very tall, guys. And he was undersized when he went to Stanford. He was undersized when he was in high school, but he knows how to move. He's a very great athlete. He runs fast. So like he's not being, and a lot of high school, a lot of parents will think a player is being written off because of his size. No, a player will get written off more because of his metrics, right? So if your son, let's just say, I'm making up numbers because I don't have any specifics. So let's say your son's 5'7", he's a sophomore, but he runs a 6'6", 60. Okay, he's not going to get written off because he is an absolute speedster. Now on the flip side, if he's running an 8'9", he's going to be written off because maybe what I just said, how he's weighing a little bit more than most, which is a good thing. Maybe he weighs almost too much where it's affecting his 60-yard dash. By the way, the 60-yard dash, if you guys don't know what it is, you quite literally run 60 yards in a straight line, and it's how quick as far as your time in seconds. So like if he's an 8.9, that's what's going to get him written off, not his height or his weight. So this is a pretty common mistake that parents will have. Now let's talk about his arm velocity, right? If he's a sophomore and he's a second baseman, and let's say he's quick twitch and he's throwing 84 miles an hour as a second baseman with a 5'7" frame at 145 pounds, that's not going to get him written off. What will get him written off is if he's throwing 62 as a sophomore and he doesn't have a clean arm action. That's what's going to get him written off. His exit velocity, let's say he's 5'7", a $145, but he knows how to rotate, and he has a 94 mile an hour exit velocity off of the tee with a wood bat, by the way, wood. That's not going to get him written off. If anything, that's going to get college coaches excited. Now, what will get him written off is if he has a 73 mile an hour exit velocity with a wood bat off the tee, because there's no whip. It kind of looks like he's swinging a wet newspaper. These are all things that college coaches will look for more than just the size. There are players that are gamers, like a Tommy Edman. I had a really good teammate of mine, Irving Lopez. Irving Lopez is like 5'7", literally 5'7". I want to look him up real quick. Let's share my screen just so you guys know what I'm looking at as well. One second. All right, that's not right. There we go. Okay, so Irving Lopez. This is Irving. He is, let's see, 5'7", 175. He not necessarily chunky, right? But he's built, and he had 11 at-bats in the big leagues for the Cardinals. Went to Florida International, 19th rounder, right? 19th rounder. He's Mexican. But yeah, 5'7". He's my double play partner a good amount of the time. So that's something just to like keep in mind, guys. These college coaches are not just looking at one thing when they're evaluating a player as far as like height or weight. Those aren't things that are gonna like be written off. What's gonna matter a lot more is your metrics and how you use your weight, how you use those things to produce basically good metrics. Now, the flip side of that is like, you might not necessarily have the best metrics, but you can like, it's very easy to tell from a scout's perspective that you're a gamer. You know how to game, you know, you're digging it down the line, you're fielding the ground balls, like you're doing everything right as far as in that regard. So like, these are things that college coaches 100% without a doubt will always see when you're talking about the performance, because I really view it as like, you're either a showcase player or you're a game player. And I would much rather you be a game player, because let's be honest, you need to know how to perform in the game. Showcase player, it's basically like what I mentioned. It's basically you're a metric player. And like, those things are cool, but if you can't translate them into the game, they're quite literally useless. So let's get to a question from Luca. We got a sophomore, 5'7", 145, outfielder, 68.4. So that's like, yeah, that's not where we want to be, man. Arm velo, 78, and exit velocity, 85. So like, exit velocity, not terrible as a sophomore, 85. I'd want that, like, so I have a hard time because like, sometimes I look at some of my students inside my program and they're like freshmen with 97 mile an hour exit velocity. So like, I always use that as like where I would personally want you to be. So like, I would say like, at the very least, I would want you to be around like 93. And by the way, hopefully, Luca, that means exit velocity is 85. Hopefully you're telling me that based off of the tee, what your exit velocity is. Because if you're giving me your exit velocity off of a machine or coach pitch, basically, or like front flip, for example, in the cage, off of like a hit tracks or a Rapsodo, that's gonna be easier to have a higher exit velocity. It's a lot harder to have 100 mile an hour exit velocity off of the tee than it is to have 100 mile an hour exit velocity off the machine. The machine's giving you that velocity and that power, and then you're returning that power if you barrel it up. When you're talking about off of the tee, there's no power that's coming in to the bat, basically. So that way, it's just a true guess, a true gauge on your overall power. So hopefully that's off of the tee with a wood bat. So like, if we can get closer to a 93, that would be ideal. As far as your arm velocity, like honestly, your arm is close, but like, try getting up to like 81. Like, because of your size, you're not gonna be you're not gonna be able to utilize your height as much. But if we can get that closer to like the low 80s, so that way junior year we can get around like mid 80s, and then senior year we can hopefully get up to like the higher 80s, that would be ideal. So like 81 should be your gauge at the end of this high school season, maybe in the middle of summer, and then that way around junior year you can get to like 85, and then hopefully like 88. That would be the progression year by year for you. Now let's talk about the 60, because the 60 is something that held me back for so incredibly long. I ran a 9.5 second 60 my freshman year of high school. 9.5 my freshman year. And I got that down from 9.5 down to a 7.3 in high school. That was my senior year. 7.3 was my senior year. So like, I know a thing or two about having a bad 60. Sophomore year, I was probably the same as you, around an 8.4. So again, as far as progression, right? We want to talk about where you should want to be in these next couple of years. So you're a sophomore right now. I would want that to be closer, I mean, if possible, in the 7s, right? 7, 9, sooner rather than later. And by the way, dude, there have been students inside my academy, within the first 14 days, they dropped their 60-yard dash by a half of a second in 2 weeks. So like we can get to that 7.9 fairly quickly with just some small tweaks. Now that's basically sophomore year. Junior year, ideally if we can get down to like a 7.2, and then that way we can get closer to like a 6.8 by senior year. That's going to basically give us the best opportunity, especially if you're an outfielder, dude. Outfielders do have to run fast to be able to track down fly balls. If you're not able to run super fast, you might be shoved off to like a second baseman role. But yeah, as far as like being a limiter as far as your height, that's where like I also had shortstops and third basemen that were like 5'10" that played in pro ball. Irving Lopez was a good example. He played third and short and second, right? Like he was all over the place. It's not impossible, but when you're lacking that height, that's where there's certain positions that make sense where other positions don't. So like for example, first base, not necessarily the best position for someone that isn't super tall. Let's go over to Tamaron Fanta. Let's get it. All right. So Tamaron. So we got a sophomore, 5'8". A lot of you guys are like very similar in height and weight. This is crazy. Middle infielder, arm, 76, 60, 8.9. Yeah, we want that down, my man. Exit velocity, 79. Yeah, 79. 79. Yeah, 79. So a couple areas, right? So Tamaron, I would say this is really a result of just lacking athleticism, because like athleticism in one area will translate to athleticism in another area. So like, for example, based off of these numbers, if I watched you play basketball, I probably wouldn't be impressed. And I'm not saying like I'm anything great in basketball, but I can move around the court, right? My shot is broken by all means. If you give me a layup when there's nobody contesting, I'm probably gonna brick it, right? That's just who I am as a basketball player. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like how you move around, your athletic movements if you played basketball. In my opinion, I was, maybe you're okay, maybe you're not. But like based off of these numbers, it would be like if I had to put like a comparison, you're moving underwater, right? If your 60 time is approaching 9 seconds as a sophomore, dude, like we need to address that if you have any dreams or goals of playing in college. Now, as far as your arm velocity, ideally we need that to be in the 80s like as soon as humanly possible, because as a middle infielder, like you're basically pushing yourself towards the second base. And if you only want to be a second baseman, like that's where there's only one second baseman on the field, just like there's one catcher. And you don't want to be that one player that forces themselves into that one area, if that makes sense. Now, as far as your exit velocity, this is the one that I think you could probably improve the most. And again, just tells me with your overall athleticism, like you're probably not rotating as efficiently as possible. If your exit velocity was closer to 90, I'd be like, okay, he's moving, he's quick twitched, especially for his height and weight. But because all three of these are kind of lacking, this is where, like, again, if I put that comparison of you playing football, basketball, I love playing racquetball, by the way, but like these athletic movements of just moving your feet, being athletic, lateral quickness, like these are all things that I would assume that like I probably wouldn't be impressed or want to watch you play those sports. Hopefully that doesn't like hurt your feelings or anything like that. But what I'm trying to tell you is like we need to be an athlete at the end of the day. And being an athlete isn't just going through the motion of, hey, I want to do this routine or this movement, right? That's not being an athlete. What you really need to understand is when we're doing movements or a routine, right? A routine, we need to mesh the mental competitiveness with the physical, right? So mental competitiveness, this is basically how we go about the work that we're doing each and every day, right? The how is very important, right? If we just do the motion, that was terrible. If we just do the motion and we don't ever think about how we're doing it, and we have no like mental focus while we're doing the exercise, we also don't know even why we're doing it. This is when we're gonna like start mentally drifting away from the exercise and we're just like doing squats because we're told to do squats, right? So this is important that you need to know the how, you need to know the why, so that way when you're doing the actual movement, we have more of like a purpose. That's spelled purpose for those that were wondering. But yeah, hopefully that, answers your questions, guys, because like that is a huge area that I would say is like that overall athleticism is like something that is absolutely needed. But yeah, that's just something that you absolutely need to do. So 125. All right. Cool. Guys, if you have any baseball-related questions, feel free to ask. That's what I'm doing this. My name is Evan Mendoza. If you're just joining in for the very first time, if you are joining for the first time, go ahead and drop a baseball emoji down below in the chat because I want to know who's here for the very first time, and I want to welcome you guys in with open arms. This is a safe place to ask questions about baseball development, mindset, and recruiting. I want to give you guys the best advice in the game of baseball that I could possibly give to the baseball community. It's why I do these lives. And like I've said so many times, I played 7 years of professional baseball with the Cardinals and Padres, spent 3 years at the D1 level at NC State University, and I really want to share that knowledge with you. And I'm not going to share that knowledge with you in like a 2-second bite-sized clip on YouTube or on Instagram or on a TikTok, right? That's not why I do this. Luisa, I think it's a Luisa. I can't tell what the username, but welcome in for the very first time over on Instagram, guys. If you're a new viewer over on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, let me know with just like a simple baseball emoji. And everyone welcome in Luisa. Luisa, if you have any baseball-related questions, feel free to ask. Of course, this is why we do this, to make sure that you guys get specific answers to your specific questions rather than giving you guys vanilla answers to, stuff on social media through like a 3-second reel that doesn't really serve any purpose. This is why I kind of am going away from like the short form, I call it doom scrolling and brain rotting content, is because when we post like a 3-second video, for example, and you guys view it and you get really, really excited, in my opinion, like the almost like motivation, right? So this is motivation. And then this is the time. Like you watch the video, you're like, oh my goodness, let's use a different color. You're like, oh my goodness, let's go. I know exactly what to do in the whole recruiting process. This is amazing. And then you scroll 3 more reels, right? Or you're on TikTok, you scroll 3 more times. You forgot what even happened in my video. So your motivation goes down and then nothing happens. Until you see another 3-second video talking about baseball development, mindset, recruiting, leadership for your son, and then you're like, ooh, I'm gonna send this over to my son. He's gonna be the best baseball player ever. Motivation super, super high. And then it just crashes again, right? This is why like these 3-second videos, in my opinion, are a thing of the past, and like we'll post shorter content, right? And that's like just the name of the game, but I don't wanna like be known for someone that just post 3 seconds videos, especially since I played 7 years of pro ball and I'm not trying to condense this long period of 7 years into a quick little like 3-second video, if that makes sense. So yeah, what I'm trying to do like with these lives is like, guys, if you spend like 10 minutes asking some questions, engaging, right? Again, if we do the same thing, motivation and time, what I'm hoping will happen is like, again, we'll use blue this time. Motivation will be up here, and then it'll be like, I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, right? And if it ever stalls for whatever reason, you can always reach out to me on DM. Like we reach out to followers that follow us, but also like we'll have conversations with you guys. And I say we because like there's a team that helps me with the DMs. I'm also in the DMs as well, managing all that as well. But like if there's a time where you need more motivation, then hit us up in a DM, and then that's going to go up again, right? So that way we're not just like doing this endless cycle of like, oh, we know exactly what to do, and then we don't. And then we know exactly what we do, and then we don't, right? Because I think that roller coaster is like what causes the confusion and the lack of clarity, especially in the college recruiting process. If my son doesn't attend college, how can he get noticed? He's a junior in high school. Perfect timing, by the way. So junior year, this high school baseball season, Louisa, is very, very important. I'll go through like a little example of what high school, and maybe this is something that you've already felt yourself, but your son basically got into motion, right? Around his 9th grade season. This is where he starts building like a routine and all of that fun stuff. Around 10th grade, this is where ideally he was building a pretty tall wall, right? He's trying to build this tall wall as big as possible. And really that is the foundation that he built his freshman year, right? So we're past that. Your son's a junior. Now what, right? Well, since we're already past August 1st, I don't know, Louisa, if you know what August 1st is, but ultimately August 1st is when coaches, I'm just going to put NCAA, can contact you. And by you, I mean the player, right? So I'm curious, since we're past August 1st, were there any college coaches contacting your son, right? That's the big question mark, because what this is, I refer to this as like a final exam not final exam, a midterm, right? Because it's quite literally halfway through your high school baseball journey, right? This is a midterm exam, right? Midterm, like in college, right? Because what this shows is how well we did everything right here. If we did everything right, we're going to have some, phone calls. This is my phone call drawing, okay? It basically tells you how well we did the recruiting process 9th and 10th grade, right? So now we move forward into around 11th grade, right? So 11th grade, in my opinion, I've used this example before. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like how ice sculptures are, right? But they usually come in like a block at first, right? And then there's someone that chips away and creates this really cool, sculpture, right? And they're just chipping, ultimately refining the foundation that we built through 9th and 10th grade. And now we're refining it even more with that foundation here. Now, this is what typically will happen around 12th grade. And this is about, 5 months away from you, Louisa, and where your son's at. This is where there's going to be this button that you find in the kitchen, on your desk, whatever, and it's called the panic button, right? This is where it's like, holy cow, my son's a senior. He was just a freshman last year, it felt like, right? Blink of an eye, things happen so quickly, and you hit that panic button, you're like, okay, what do we do now as far as the recruiting? What do we do now for the development? And I don't want to say it's too late, but as far as like the development, that again, we need to understand these things stack up slowly. These things stack up. And it's kind of like, I always like to refer to it as like investing, right? It's compounding interest, right? It's like you have something here and that thing turns into this, and then that turns into this, and then that turns into this. And basically what that is, this constant growth one on another. And then over time, we might feel comfortable doing this. And basically what that is like your bridge to that next step, that development. That could be the recruiting, that could be the mindset, right? Like all these things help you bridge to that next gap, but ultimately it starts with just taking one action on top of another, on top of another. And of course, this helps when you have, this is the pathway, right? When you know what that pathway should look like, it's helpful to understand what that should look like, right? If you don't know what that is, you might start over here and then go over here, and then you might find yourself in a place where you feel pretty good about yourself, but then you go over here and then you're going back a little bit, and then you go back even more, and then you're like, what happened? My son was so good, and then he made some gains, and then it's just a little bit more chaotic. It's kind of like the, always love this example. It's basically success and success, right? What people think success looks like is like, right? And success, let's just call it a D1 scholarship, right? People just think it's just like, whoop, it's that easy. It's just one thing, we just do it, right? What success really looks like is, and then it just gets all crazy, right? And then it gets all crazy some more, and then, we made it out, right? In my opinion, like success does not have to look that way. Success could be like, hey, we need to hit this, we need to hit this, we need to hit this, and then if we do these 3 things right, this is where typically, inevitably, this is where we'll usually find ourselves getting over here. So you're right here, you're trying to go over here, you don't know what the path should look like, you don't know if you should go this way, that way, this way, you don't know. And basically, if it's like we just follow this path, typically we find ourselves in a lot better of a situation. And that's kind of what I teach inside my triple play program, with the physical, the mental, and the recruiting, making sure that my students have the right frameworks to follow along with the correct structure. We have workout programs written by a New York Mets strength coach. The mental side, we increase that baseball IQ so that way your son isn't the weakest link when he's going through the college recruiting process. And then also the recruiting side. Obviously, we want to make sure that we give our students actionable advice. It's something that I love talking about, guys. Sometimes it feels like, especially junior year, Louisa, this is all the stuff that's going on in recruiting. These are all the tasks that your son feels like he needs to do. When in reality, what I like to do with my students is giving actionable advice. Here are the first 2 things that I need you to focus on. Don't focus on these steps, W, X, Y, and Z. Don't worry about these steps down here. Let's just focus on 1 and 2. And then after we get done with 2 and we feel good about ourselves, let's go to 3 and 4, right? And basically we segment that work so that way we feel like we're getting that motivation to stay motivated and stay the course, right? With the momentum that we're building basically from the steps prior, right? So if we never have those steps prior, that's when it's gonna be pretty difficult to understand like where are we at, where are we trying to go? These are all things that usually lead to a lot of confusion for a lot of high school baseball players. So hopefully that answers your question, Luisa. And if your son doesn't attend a college, how can he get noticed? He's a junior in high school. So like, I mean, if he's a junior in high school, like don't be focusing on, again, like steps W, X, Y, and Z if he's not a freshman in college, right? We don't need to be focusing on those things that are into the future that far, because like your son has every ability to be able to play at a university and to get noticed, right? So it's always important to always understand that. Let me see. Oh. All right. Cool. Guys, if you have any baseball-related questions, feel free to ask. Sometimes I have to do like admin stuff that isn't always the most fun, but gotta do it. Gotta do it. All right. This is a pretty common question, so I might actually record this one. But if you have any baseball-related questions, sorry, I got knocked off, am going to DM you. Yeah, always DM me. If you want to start off that conversation, and the most effective way to do that, Luisa, is to DM me, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram, just the word college. Or if you just if you want the faster track for everything that we've got going on, if you click the link in my bio over on Instagram, that's going to be taking you to a video that explains who I am and what my program is all about. And then below that, there's going to be a button. It's going to take you through like a quick little application just to see like if we would even be a good fit to work together. And then basically at the end of that, we'll I'll reach out to you and we'll start that communication there. But if you like DMs, you can always DM me. All right, let's get into this question. This is actually a pretty common question. All right, my son wants to play D1 only, but won't consider D2 and D3. How do I handle this as a parent? So ideally, this is a good sign for your son, and it looks like your son is a sophomore, so he's still got some time to develop and to grow and also work on his recruiting strategies. So this is the way that I like to view it, right? Your son's down here, right? And he has these big, huge dreams and goals. And ultimately, my elementary school had a saying, reach for the stars, right? So the star is D1, right? And the way that I like to think about this is your son has the right mindset, because if he reaches for the stars and he has these big dreams and goals that scare you and scare him, he's creating goals the right way, right? Because if he doesn't hit these goals, what he might find himself is settling down and landing on the clouds. And that could be at a D2 program. That could be at a mid-major D1, right? So having those big dreams and goals is not a bad thing. And especially since he's a sophomore, he does have time to adjust, right? The one thing that I always see and hear quite often is, well, my son could go to a D1 and get benched, right? Or he could go to a D2 or D3 and play. And this is where I really like to put the emphasis, guys, on what makes you so sure that he's going to be benched. What makes you so sure that he's going to play his freshman, sophomore, junior year at a D2 or D3? What if he doesn't develop the way that these coaches think he's going to? What if he doesn't show the maturity to actually get that extra work done? And what if he regresses as far as his skills? He's not going to be playing at that D2 or D3. But on the flip side, if he's taking everything incredibly seriously, he's doing that extra work, he's showing that he really cares about this, and he goes to a D1 with the mindset he might get benched, but he's still putting in that work every single day, you might find yourself in a position where instead of getting benched, you're actually playing at that D1. So don't think of this as like a binary black and white. View it as you have an opportunity to develop your skills and to grow within the game. You have to still prove that whether or not you're at a D2, D3, or a D1. Hopefully that gives you some clarity on that, because I hear that just about every single time. It's like, okay, my son doesn't want to like go to a D2 or a D3, or hey, I don't think my son's a D1 in caliber his freshman year of high school. Should we start looking at JUCOs? And it's like, he's a freshman. He is a freshman in high school, guys, 14 years old. He's not going to compare to 18-year-old grown men. So don't get into this mindset that like, oh, my son probably can go D1. Even making comments like that as a freshman, it's like, come on, we have 4 years to develop our skills and hopefully keep progressing. There have been so many times that I see this in the game of baseball where you peak. And basically, if you don't know what peaking is, pretty simple concept, right? Basically, this is like, let's do this. As a baseball player, you do not want to peak too soon. And I hear this all the time, especially from parents who say, yeah, my freshman in high school isn't that good. He's probably not going to play D1. He's probably going to go to a JUCO. He is a freshman. He has 4 years to develop. But on the flip side, really good freshmen on varsity, parents will say, oh, my son's really good. He's going to play D1. He also has 4 years to develop. So what I mean by don't peaking too soon, your son could be around that 9th grade year and he's like really, really good. But what if he starts to regress over until his senior year of high school, right? Over time. This is the good factor and the time factor, right? So in my opinion, like what we really want to be focusing on is that constant progression rather than being peaking around 10th grade, peaking around 12th grade, peaking freshman year of college. These are all things that, like, personally from my experience, I never peaked in high school, which is a good thing. That peak really happened for me sophomore year of college where I hit 362 in the ACC and I was second team all ACC, and that's something that I peaked at. 2 years later when I got into pro ball and around 2018 was one of my best years where I hit like 340 in high A. In double A, I think I hit like 260, and on the year over like 600 at-bats, I hit like 290. So in my opinion, I peaked in around double A, and then I broke my wrist and other things helped me to regress basically. But anyway, what we have to really think about is we don't want to necessarily peak too soon. We want to continuously keep progressing, keep developing, keep getting better, and also having that mindset that, like, again, even if you're a freshman, you're not that good freshman year, you still have 4 solid years to develop your skills into that D1 caliber athlete. And parents sometimes are the ones that kill those dreams for players, and that's the unfortunate part. That is unfortunate because I've heard that quite often, especially from parents, where they I honestly think it's coming down to like the dreams and the goals that happen for the players, where sometimes it's the emphasis of like, for whatever reason, guys, it's like, I know because I'm a parent, he's not good. He's a D1. He's not a D1 player. And in my opinion, it's like, why are we thinking that way? Why are we acting that way, right? That's not helping the kid. That's not helping the player develop and really develop his mindset. Like, why are we doing those things? That's not going to help out at all. So why are we doing them? So these are the things that I think are just like pretty frustrating, right? Because like I hear these things quite often from parents and they hurt me to hear, right? Because like around that freshman year for me, like I was on varsity, but there were times where I didn't know what the future was going to hold. I couldn't really see past 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. I couldn't even see what I was having for dinner that night or what homework assignments that were due next week, right? I couldn't see that far into the future. So I always think it's important to not focus too much on basically what you've got going on with the day-to-day and really thinking about too much into the future. I think I might have said that wrong. It's not important to be thinking too much into the future, but it's rather more important to be focusing on the day-to-day today, right? Because if we get into the mindset of like, oh, I'm not that good right now and I can't get over here, what typically happens is like you work out this many times, right? When in reality, the person that just takes those small actions every single day will ultimately find themselves in this position where they want to be. And that typically looks like D1 baseball. That typically looks like landing that scholarship around junior year. So that way senior year, they can play a little bit more free and open. So that way they, have, the ability to, get on these college coaches' radars before junior year of high school, which is obviously really, really important. Really important, guys. Really important. If you guys have any baseball questions, feel free to ask as I'm sipping my coffee. Also, for the next 10 minutes or so, one thing that I want to do, because I haven't really done it too much, and I've told myself like roughly once a month, what I would like to do is to be able to give you guys some level of like a vision of what I'm trying to do in the future. My son is a freshman. Ram, welcome back. My son is a freshman in high school right now, been playing year-round baseball for 6 years. Whoa, year-round baseball. When is he given that break, right? When is he recovering? When is he focusing on the physical development? Should we implement an off-season now? Yes, I think based off of my response, yes. Or just keep him playing year-round. So again, pretty important question. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it out. All right. My son's a freshman in high school now. Been playing year-round baseball for 6 years. Should we implement an off-season now? Yes, without a doubt. Or should we just keep him playing year-round? So for this example, this is what we have in a calendar year, and this is typically around high school baseball. So let's just talk about typically around February, which is right now, all the way until typically around like maybe October. This is baseball season for the most part. This is, high school baseball in the spring, travel baseball in the summer, and then fall baseball usually for a couple of weekends, depending on if you're a warm weather state or if you're in the Northeast, right? Now we want to think about how we can regenerate the energy to be able to come back here and we're at full power, right? Because if we think about if we're never taking any off season, this is just going to be more of like an energy graph, right? So this is the energy that we have to put into games, into training, things like that. If it's constantly going down year round, when are we going to find our time to, like, let's just say right there, we're doing sprint work, but we're doing sprint work at 50% effort because we're absolutely drained throughout the whole calendar year, right? We need to make sure that there's times where, yes, there's going to be times where we regress in the season, but there's also going to be times where we need to work on build, right? So this is the build section of basically the off season, which is right here and right here. This is where we're building those muscles. This is going to be where we ideally want to try to maintain as possible, right? So if we're working out in season, which we should be at the high school level, this is where that graph should look more like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then it's going to go down a little bit, and then like this, right? So in those build sections, those are the off season. In those maintain sections, that's basically the in season. And without a doubt, like after playing 140 games one year in the minor leagues, like your body will be broken down if you're playing a lot of games throughout the entire calendar year, like I did in pro baseball. So hopefully that gives you some emphasis on taking some time off, guys. I think in around the 8U to 12U. 8U to 12U. You kind of get brainwashed, in my opinion. I'm going to record this one because I feel like this is a hot take. In my opinion, between 8U and 12U, you get absolutely brainwashed for baseball and baseball development and what you should really be focusing on. Because in this time frame, this is where really, again, you get brainwashed into playing year round, right? And in my opinion, if you're playing year round, you're never really focusing ever on the development side of things. You're never focusing on the gym. You're never talking about basically getting bigger, stronger, and faster. You're not focusing on those things, but instead you're focusing on playing year-round baseball and really just playing the game. Because yes, it is fun. Yes, skill work is important as far as hitting the ball, catching the ball, and throwing the ball. But as far as your overall physical development, we're completely neglecting it between these years. And by the way, like, yes, 8th graders, or sorry, not 8th graders, but 8U should not be necessarily powerlifting in the gym. Of course not, right? But understanding some core movements, rotational movements, to provide that power into your swing or into your throw. You do not need to be doing heavy weights. You do not need to be doing bench press or squats with weight. You can do a lot of things with body weight, but again, this is the age where you get brainwashed into thinking that playing more baseball is going to help your son, when in reality, it's just because of the tournament fees. It's just because of the organizational fees. You're never focusing on the development. You're never focusing on the gym. And that's why typically freshman, sophomore year of high school, there are players that are bigger, stronger, and faster because they did focus on the gym. They did focus on their development. All right. So, like I was trying to say, over on YouTube, guys, I want to give you guys a little bit of an insight what I'm thinking about doing and kind of just like how my brain works. I am trying to plan a retreat. Yes, a retreat. It's going to be super selective for only 5 families. 5 families only, and ideally this is going to be created for one parent and the player. So only 2 people per family. And the way that I envision this to be, and by the way, you can watch the video down below on the YouTube description if you are on YouTube. The third link is going to take you to like a little bit of a web page to explain a little bit more about my vision. This is going to be super secluded to only 5 families. I'm looking for either current sophomores and juniors in the fall time, which is where when the retreat's going to be hosted. They're going to be current juniors and seniors. But basically, I want it to be a fun, basically last hurrah for travel baseball, right? Because this time of the year, right after the WWBA in October, by the way, so like this is what I'm thinking as far as like a retreat. It's going to be like late October 2026. It's going to be hosted in North Carolina. You're going to get like basically a pretty awesome like resort style like Airbnb, and think like basically a mansion. And it's just gonna be really cool. We're gonna go to like a steakhouse. We're gonna train obviously for baseball. I'm thinking about doing like pickleball. More of like a classroom session, talking about basically that bridge from high school to college. Like coffee every morning, obviously going to be like basically handed to you. We're going to like take your order beforehand. So like these are all the things that I'm envisioning for a retreat. This is something that I think is just going to be really fun. So if you are on YouTube right now, it's going to be the third link down below to learn a little bit more about this. One thing I really want to emphasize is this is going to be for strictly infielders. And really like what I'll say is I really want this to be more for shortstops, right? Shortstops for the 2027 and 2028 grad years. I want to say that's right. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I believe that's right. Yeah, the third link over on my YouTube live. By the way, guys, if you're on Instagram, head over to my YouTube. Yeah, so this is going to be for 2027 and 2028 shortstops. And this is going to be like, again, like a more of just like a small group. Again, probably only like 5 families. This is what I'm envisioning. Transportation taken care of. Everything once you get to North Carolina will be taken care of. Quite literally, it's going to be all inclusive. Just really trying to craft like a really cool experience for families to think about, like, and this is, again, from my perspective, all throughout, like, in my opinion, I started baseball when I was 4 years old, right? I was pretty young, and I played baseball where my parents were always in my corner, like, helping me out and doing cool stuff. But really the cool stuff was baseball centric, right? It was too focused on baseball games where my mindset was always like, I have a game tonight. I have a game later today. I have a game that I have to wake up early next morning, right? That was always my mindset, where like right around here in high school, because like your son's going to probably play in college, and ideally I want this retreat to be for people that will probably be playing in college in the next year or so. I want like right here for you guys to like really create something memorable, right? Remember that one time we went to North Carolina. Remember that steakhouse dinner? That was really cool. What I'm really going for is a show experience. And for those that don't know what a show experience is, it's basically when you're in the big leagues, you have a show dinner. And a show dinner is basically you get the private dining, you get order anything that you want basically, and then you play like credit card roulette at the very end because everyone's making the big bucks in the big leagues. And basically whoever's credit card they choose, oh, you're the one paying the bill of a couple $1,000s, right? So that's basically like the show dinner. Of course, I'm not going to force you guys to play credit card roulette. That would be unfair. But no, obviously, like this is something that I think is just really beneficial for creating that memorable experience for your players, right? Because like, or your player. If you're a parent of a high school baseball player, this retreat, again, this retreat is just something that I want to emphasize the fact of like, it's going to be mostly for infielders and shortstops. And the reason for that is because think about if we have five shortstops, like everything is centralized about shortstops, ground balls, feeling more confident on defense, hitting, things like that, right? The moment we have like one straggler of an outfielder, then we have to start focusing on like what can we incorporate with the shortstop group and the right fielder, for example, and it just doesn't mesh well. So that's why I only want it to be done with shortstops. You definitely, don't have to be necessarily a shortstop, but we're all going to take ground balls in the infield, right? And again, for 2027, 2028 shortstops, ideally super secluded, all-inclusive retreat for 5 families. Late October 2026, it's going to be in North Carolina, resort-style Airbnb. We're going to go to a steakhouse. We're going to, of course, train alongside with me. A really good coach to player ratio. What I'm thinking is since there's going to be 5 families over here, like I'm thinking 3 coaches to 5 players, which I think is more than enough, obviously. We're going to play, have some fun, play some pickleball, train, maybe go to the Lifetime Fitness where I go to train and go to the gym. Maybe do like cold plunge, right? And see who's got it, the mental strength for that. We're going to do like some classroom sessions really to like emphasize what's going to happen these next couple of years. Not necessarily a couple of years, but really probably the next couple of months as you're transitioning from high school to college. What are the things that we can mentally prepare for? And then last but not least, like we're gonna have some coffee given to you each and every day. Obviously, we're gonna take your coffee order, so that way we know exactly what you like and how you like your coffee. But yeah, that's gonna be over on YouTube. Head over to my YouTube channel right now, guys. If you're on Instagram, click the highlight with the YouTube icon. Join my live, and then it's the 3rd link down below. If you're interested in this retreat, it's going to be very secluded. I always like to just give you guys a little nudge about it. It is something that's going to be, you'll hear a lot more about as we approach later. Probably in July, August is when we're really going to start ramping up, just spreading the word. And then that way, hopefully it's going to be a really awesome event for, probably 5 families. I don't see doing 6 because that's where it could get into issues of how big is the Airbnb and things like that. But all right, guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and record my recap for today's live. Today was day 27. And let's talk about, we had a lot of player profiles. Okay, let's start here. What's the best way to gain athleticism? I love 5-10-5s, dude. 5-10-5s are huge. 5-10-5s are truly the one movement that I actually think helped me out the most. Why is that not letting me? So whenever this happens, I might just have to start on this guy. Um, 5-10-5s though. 5-10-5. Look that up on YouTube if you could, Tamron. That's basically going to help you with lateral quickness and just overall body awareness. It's something that helped me out tremendously with my 60-yard dash time. But let's go ahead and record today's recap, and we'll be on our way. All right, recap of day 27 of 50 streaming every single day. So when we're doing exercises, it's important to know how we're doing it so that way we don't get into this repetition of just doing the movements and going through the motions. Ideally, we are looking for that purpose with everything that we've got going on. Now, what I talk about right here is really making sure that we're not getting motivated in a quick 3-second video that we find on Instagram. And ideally, if you join me into my lives, I talk about basically the motivation that we can sustain over a longer period of time. This is kind of the framework that I like to look at. with the timeline of high school baseball and really about how August 1st can be referred to as that midterm exam with everything that you've got going on. Also, I talk about just taking that one tiny little step in the right direction, which can help you get to your goals for your physical development, mental, and recruiting. Sometimes success to be able to get that D1 scholarship, it looks like that's what most people think it looks like, when in reality, sometimes it gets messy. It's also helpful if you have a roadmap to be able to follow, so that way you're able to be a little bit more structured. Now, as far as actionable advice, there's a million things that we could do, and sometimes why it gets so confusing in the recruiting process is because you're focusing on doing steps W, X, Y, and Z, when in reality, we just need to do steps 1 and 2, so that way we don't get overwhelmed and struggle. It is important to have those big dreams and goals as far as D1 goals, and that's never a bad thing. Now, as far as, throughout peaking in high school and your overall good factor, we don't want to peak too soon in like freshman year. We want to sustain that growth throughout high school and throughout college. Now, as far as taking those little steps every single day, that's why it's important, so that way we're not overwhelmed by just trying to reach that big dream and goal. We also talk about being in the off season and building, right? Because if we're regressing, or really what we're trying to do in season is maintain, that's this section right here for most high school baseball players in travel ball and fall ball and the spring season. But of course, in the off season, it is important to build that strength, so that way we can have better strength for that upcoming season. I also think it's really important that you understand around 8U to 12U, you get brainwashed into playing year round and then never focus on development and the gym, which is obviously a huge separator with everything that we've got going on. I'll talk a little bit about my retreat. If you are interested, join into my YouTube for more information on that. It's going to be on the link in the description. And then also what we also talked about is creating that environment for that retreat right before you send your kids off to college. That's basically the environment of what I'm going for in that retreat. It's going to be late October 2026. Hope to see you there, and more to come. All right, guys. Well, that is the end. We're a couple minutes over, but that is the end of today's Coffee and Baseball. Guys, if you have any baseball-related questions, hit me up in the DMs. If not, I will see you on the next one.
Welcome Evan Mendoza to the program.
Cardinals third baseman Evan Mendoza. Giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great rounded up the middle. Mendoza throws on the shortstop. Mendoza field spins.
Mendoza throw to first in time. Wow, what a play by Evan Mendoza.
Mendoza to second for one. Oh my word, you've got to be kidding. Evan Mendoza. For Mendoza
Lifts one to left.
an inning. Mendoza, that one's sailing back there, and it's gone.
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level, not just posting about it. Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word. Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity, and your outreaching strategies. Because there's a ton of players I know that are way better than me that had 0 offers because they don't know how to reach out to coaches.
Pretty much every possible number when I've gone up. I was high 70s and now I'm aiming for mid to high 80s and hitting the same thing. I was high 80s off machine and now I'm able to put some balls out in the mid 90s.
JT's motivation to want to do it at home, be proactive in his baseball career, and we are able to do these things for him, and it's self-motivated and he's taken that action. As a parent, you want to be able to say yes to something like that.
It's been making me feel much more confident. Like now going into the season, I feel I have all the ability I need and I can just play and trust that all the work I did will pay off.
Started working out, I was about 120, 115, about 160 now. I trusted it and it worked. If you want to go get it, it's not going to come to you.
My EV was about 75 and my body weight was around 155, around that. Since I joined that, I'm up to almost 180 now and I'm hitting 80s, around mid 80s.
How much more kind of committed he was and how much more confident he became in his own progress, instead of questioning himself about, am I doing the right thing or is this the right thing? So you could kind of see the stress level decrease a little bit, and then that energy could be focused on really all of the program aspects, right? Or his workouts.
Do that. If you could get on and do what you said day in, day out, it's amazing. Like a game changer.
Through your program, I just realized like how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement